Hi there.
Hello.
It's Wednesday, and we always love to go midweek and schedule these live streams. And we always like to sort of dive into the work life archives and see what
See what we
inspired,
can see what we can find.
see what we can find. So we are Dave and Laura Butler. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining in the recording, thank you for joining the recording. So we do support. We provide support for organizations, individuals, teams around leadership development, transition, change.
Communication skills,
Just a few things
presentation.
that kind of are going on today. So
Yeah.
each week we choose a particular topic, and this one we thought would be timely at this point. Rise to lead for your long-term success. Why did we land on this one?
Well, because all leadership starts with self-leadership, and our Rise to Lead program is essentially that. It's about self-leadership.
Well, I agree. And I think the other piece with all of this is that when we think of leadership, we are, there's a very broad brush when it
It's a big topic.
big topic. So our philosophy about leadership is that this statement, as Dave just said, is key. If
Well,
you're
when you think about it, why would anybody want to be led by you if you can't lead yourself?
exactly, and there are certain, foundations, as Dave said, this program that we provide in conjunction and partnership with Berkman, which is our assessment tool, is called Rise to Lead, because in terms of rising to the next level, whatever it may be, the foundations of it all are for the individual to step up and say, this is what I need. This is what will be the future for me,
Yeah.
and put it in place.
And this has become more and more important every year for the last 30 years that we've been doing this work. It's more and more dependent on the individual to step up and take control of their own development, their own future, their own readiness, I guess I would call it, their own development.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think when you think about self leadership or what the foundations of self leadership could possibly be, it usually ties back to, well, this sounds a lot like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And the two key areas for self leadership, and what we're going to focus on today, however, with emotional intelligence, there are five foundational elements. But for self leadership, we think the first two are very important. So we're going to dive a little deeper in there. So what we have here is the first foundational key, if you will, for emotional intelligence, for rise to lead, for self leadership,
Right.
is self awareness.
And being the ability to see yourself and your perceptions clearly and objectively. Well, if you can't see what's going on around you and you don't have the ability to adjust your perspective to whatever the situation is, pretty soon, you're not going to be very clear on what you're doing.
Well, I think the key here is your perceptions clearly and objectively by taking the time to be introspective and reflect.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing that, and that, oh yeah, I'll get to that tomorrow.
I'll get to that when everything settles down.
Yeah, and it never settles down. But what it does is, the benefits of self-awareness is once we step back and we assess what the situation is, our self-esteem is increased. It boosts our confidence.
Yeah, and you can work more creatively and productively with other people.
Yeah, and because you're stepping back, you're almost like hovering over yourself in a way, and
yourself.
Communicate, effectively in a way that you take a look and you dive into what have I done, what have I, what are the key pieces that I could work on for myself and maybe help others. And the other one,
self-management, being able to be not only aware of your emotions, but to be able to direct your behavior in an appropriate and productive way.
Well, I think it follows beautifully with self-awareness, because you take that self-awareness and then you can increase your relationships with others.
Yeah, and also very important, the number one benefit is gaining the ability to respond to situations instead of reacting. And it's such, we live in such a reactive time. We have immediate access to so much information, and the phone's buzzing and the watches are going off, and there's so much going on. It pulls us away from ourselves. We're out there into reacting to everything all day long. How do we get back to stability inside of ourselves so that we can direct our activities more effectively?
Again, we are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting. Thank you for joining. If you have some key points about how you tap into your own self-awareness and self-management, please leave a comment. If you're joining on the recording, happy you're here. And we provide insights for individuals, teams, and organizations around not only this topic, but change, transition, overall leadership development, team support. So when we go back to self-management, the communicate more effectively, I think happens because we've taken the time to step back and reflect on what are some things. Have I gotten the feedback that I need? And not only have I received the feedback, have I acted on it?
Right. I think it reminds me of one of our earlier blogs. I think we named it "Who's Pulling Your Trigger?"
Mm.
You know, we all have triggers. We all have things that set us off, get us off track. There's so many things going on around us. If we can't maintain that self-management, pretty soon we're reacting to the reacting and reactions.
Well, and I think too, we have that foundational support for ourselves that gives us the opportunity to be more accountable, and increase the confidence. So if we go beyond, how do we expand self-awareness? So if self-awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly and reflect with introspection, then these three questions could be key in giving you some tools around how do I do that. Tap into the moment. In the moment, it's one of the most important things. What am I feeling and experiencing?
Yeah, it's probably the most important part of our program that we have called self-mastery, emotional mastery, because it's really being aware of what's going on, being able to identify even the feelings that you're having.
Well, sometimes, we have the worksheet within the program that identifies feelings.
Right.
But sometimes we don't know what we're feeling and we can't put a word to it. But when we see a list, we can say, oh, maybe that's the one. But aware of my intentions. Am I aware of my intentions? That's a loaded one. Because intentions could seem to be very authentic.
Right.
But when we really look at it, are we?
But without self-awareness and self-management, our intentions sometimes are not the same as our delivery.
Well, they can be manipulative.
How often have you said, no, I didn't intend that. That's not what I meant. Well, that's what other people perceive, and that's what people react to.
And then expanding self-management. So if we use the self-awareness to direct behavior in a productive way, how do you really tap into that? Again, it goes back to that intent. Do I manage my behaviors in an intentional way? Can I respond effectively given my perceptions, and do my actions reflect my intentions?
Right. That's the big one I think that we all need help with. Really understanding how we're coming across to other people, not just with our intentions, but our delivery.
So I think these are key in terms of how teams can be more effective in terms of how they respond to accountability. I'm hearing a theme with some leaders I've been working with, which is I can't get accountability to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that? Well, you set expectations, number one.
Sure.
And what else would you recommend?
Well, you set expectations, but you also set, I think one of the things that we lose sight of is timing. It's like we've got expectations, but what's the time frame? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it an hour? We kind of just wait until somebody feels like they've got it done, or we're waiting around, and so suddenly somebody says, "Well, what are you up to?" And it circles back to finally getting back to the expectations, but the expectations become very vague very quickly, especially in the rush of the moment and the dust up and the chaos that surrounds most situations.
Well, it's accountability. I'm also hearing a lot about innovation. So if we aren't accountable, we really can't innovate because we stay stuck. So it's very important. We know from the 5 attributes model, it's 5 dysfunctions. It all starts with trust, and then we can work with conflict. Then we've got commitment and accountability. So they're important. They're not brush over them. So any closing thoughts?
Well, closing thoughts. I think that one of the most important parts of all of this is the word self. Am I aware of myself? Am I aware of my intentions? Am I aware of my passions? That's why the Berkman has been such a wonderful tool for me personally and for us professionally. And it's a wonderful way of getting to know and be clear about your passions and clear about your intentions. And most importantly, clear about the things that you need in order to take care of yourself, to stay out of the triggers and out of the stress behavior that causes so much damage on a daily basis.
Exactly. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next Wednesday with another topic. If you have one that you'd like us to dive deeper into, please let us know. Thanks for watching.
See you later.